Hello everybody, welcome back to Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. In this video we're going to get started on our first dungeon, the River Belle Path, and we're just going to dive into some action, so let's get started.
They say that wicked creatures prowl the road along this beautiful riverbank, but nobody's ever seen one. I once asked a man why. He simply replied, because anybody who happens upon one is promptly eaten. But it is long since anyone has met such a fate. For nowadays, people take another route, far away from the spooky old road. Only we walk the old way now, travelers in crystal caravans.
Alright, so you will always get a nice little intro your first time. Actually, every single time you went to our world. I'm only going to make you guys watch it once, but it is pretty nice to watch the first thing. So, this is our first dungeon, which is the River Belle Path. A few things to note: if you go to the right here, when you first come in, you can create the first part of a shortcut, which we can use later, which in all seriousness isn't useful at all, but we'll do it anyways. There are 4 different types of enemies you're going to run into on our first cycle. We're going to run into a Moo, a Hedgehog Pie, a Goblin, and a Goblin Chieftain. What I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to try and make bios for each of the enemies so you know their stats and their weaknesses and things like that. And I'll just insert them here so you guys can see them. So hopefully those help. I had trouble finding some reference pictures, so I might not always have a reference picture for an enemy, which is too bad because I wish I did. But these enemies here, basically, the River Belle Path shouldn't give you any trouble at all. This is a very, very basic world. So after defeating those enemies, we're going to come over to the right here, and we're going to see this little interesting structure right here. As soon as I pick up my meat, if we get Mog to drop our chalice, what we can do is we can pretty much just drop it onto this little area here, and it changes the crystal's element to water. Now what you can do is you can actually teleport out of this place if you need to maybe go save on the world map or something. I mean, I don't know what you guys need to do or whatever, but we're going to just change it to water. You will want your chalice to be water by the time you leave this area, so just keep that in mind. Pick up that treasure for a cure spell, which is very useful, trust me, especially at this point in the game where you're very, very weak. If you come up here, this is a dead end. There is nothing up here. It is a shortcut later on, but the switch is on the other side, so we can't get this working right now. Pick up some food, though, why not? As you can see, if I come up here, there's a big gate, so we're pretty SOL on that point. Now this first gate here that we come to has a little stone structure on the left hand side there. That's actually a switch, and if you defeat the enemy that's usually right by the switch, it will drop like a key, and you can just fit it right into place, which will allow you to open the area and move on. So believe it or not, we're actually moving through this area really quickly. It's a very, very small area, so now this is interesting as well. I wanted to show this off. There's urns in this world, and what you can do is you can throw them. I don't know how that didn't wake him up or startle him. And that's oil, so what you can do is you can use fire, and you can burn the goblin to death. Also yourself, if you're not careful like I just did. Luckily, you only take damage once. Even if you are on fire, you basically just burn for a while. That will open up this gate, but we don't need to do that yet, because there's actually a whole other area to the south of here. This is a life spell. I don't generally pick these up. They're not really that useful in single player, just because if you are dead, you're obviously not going to be able to use a spell on yourself. You're going to depend on Phoenix Downs. It's more useful in multiplayer, and the only purpose it really has in single player is for spell fusion. You can fuse spells with it, and I think later on in one of the worlds, you do actually have to use a life spell to move on through the world, which I will get into later. This interesting looking item is actually an artifact, and the artifacts are things we'll be able to pick up later on as we leave the world. This treasure chest here usually has a design of some sort. Actually, I'll show you what the artifacts do right now. For right now, it'll go into the treasure section, and you can choose one once you complete the dungeon. So as you can see, the double axe has gone in the treasure part. And then it will go into the artifacts once we choose it, and artifacts usually give you a stat gain or a bonus that is permanent, and they are extremely useful, and it's very important to pick your artifacts very, very carefully. This is the second part of that bridge shortcut. So if we want, we can go right back to the start of the world where we came in, but like I said, it's really not useful. There's pretty much no need to do it unless you want to leave the world or something like that, so I'm not going to worry about that. I wanted to show that off though, and if this hedgehog would stop moving, I could kill him. Thank you! The cure stone, I don't need to pick that up because I already have one of them. Speaking of which, I'd like to put that on my command list. Cure is basically like my best friend, honestly. I use the cure stone a lot. I mean, food is good to use because it takes up space in your inventory, and you want to get your inventory emptied out, but cure spells are convenient because you can use them as many times as you want and they never run out, so that's really, really nice. This is our first look at a Mew or a Moo. It's a little cat-like enemy. They're pretty quick, but again, they're really weak. Most of these monsters can be taken out with 3 hits, and probably 1 focus attack if you just wanted to do a focus attack on them. This chest here is another artifact. These are silver spectacles. And one interesting thing I want to show off is up here on this hill, you can press B to examine this rock, and there's actually a small hole, so let's go on ahead and go inside. Oh, look at this big happy place in the middle of a dungeon. This is what's called a Mughals Nest. And the Mughal will ask you for a Mog stamp, so let's get him to explain this to us. You don't have a stamp card. Let me tell you about Mog stamps, Kupo. We Mughals are found all over the world. We offer Mog stamps as an incentive to locate and visit all of our homes. You'll need the stamp card to get Mog stamps. The stamp card is 23 squares. They're divided into sets of 1 to 3 squares of matching colors. And there are 9 different kinds of Mog stamps. Each Mughal will stamp one onto your card. If you collect a set of matching stamps, tell a Mughal who gave you one of those stamps. So that's a very, very basic concept. Basically, visit all the Mughals and get all the stamps. And once you get a set of stamps, you'll unlock things. I think they're all mini-games though, as far as I can remember, so that's not really that useful to us in single-player mode. If you talk to your Mughal, if you talk to Mog, you can paint him, which is interesting. If you paint him like red, for example, he will cast fire spells. If you paint him blue, he will cast blizzard spells. And if you paint him green, he will cast... If you paint him green, he'll cast thunder spells, which is pretty interesting. If you don't want him to cast any spells, you can basically just leave him blank, and he'll just cast a random spell. You can wash him if you want to take off any color that you have put on him. So you can leave him bare, obviously, if you want to do that. You can also trim his hair, and trimming his hair serves a purpose later on in the game. If you trim his hair and you're going to a hot world, it'll be easier for him to carry your chalice without getting tired. He'll tire very, very easily if he's got long hair, so it's pretty useful depending on what area you are in. but it's not really that useful to us right now, so we're just going to leave Mog the way that he is, and that is about it for our first visit to Mughal homes. There's one in pretty much every single part of the world, and we will be visiting all of them. Alright, now that that's taken care of, we're almost there actually. We just have to pretty much backtrack and go forward to that gate that we opened, and we will be able to move on forward in this world. Like I said, very, very short, very easy, and a lot of fun. I mean, this area is just absolutely beautiful. It's got great music, good variety. They spread things out really well, which I like, and even if this world is simple, I really like it. There's a thunder stone, we can pick that up. Go ahead and defeat these guys. Most of the time I usually just let them get a hit on me, especially if there's only 2 of them. I could basically just get them to hit me, and then I could just cure right away. No big deal. And to the left we can continue on, but if we go to the right we can pick up more treasure. So this is a Goblin Chieftain. You'll probably need 7 or 8 normal physical hits to actually kill him, but if you use 3 focus attacks, he will die. So I choose to use focus attacks on this guy because he just dies a lot quicker. He'll drop some material, and this chest, if we open it up, will have another design, which is nice. We can create some better equipment, which we really need by the next time we go to a different world. So let's take care of this guy. More Phoenix down, I will definitely take that. It's very useful, especially in single player mode. And another design. So hopefully by the time we get to our next world, we will be able to get some much nicer equipment, which will help us along quite a bit. This broken bridge here, you can walk along the metal pipes. This chest has a life stone in it. I'm not going to bother picking it up, because, like I said, I don't really use life in single player mode. It's not really all that useful. And now, over here is actually the shortcut that we can use that I was talking about earlier, where the gate was off and the opening was on the other side. So we're basically like on the other side of the world where we started. And again, this is another shortcut you can use if you want to get back closer to the start of the world. Again, I don't find that overly useful, so I'm not going to bother. You can also use spells on enemies. I don't really use spells a whole lot unless it's absolutely necessary. I just choose brute force more than anything else. Bosses, I like to use spells though, depending on the boss. Usually bosses, spells work a lot better with them. Mage Masher and a potato. But goblins, you can use fire. Fire works really well on goblins, and things like that. So it's totally up to you. I just don't like the quote-unquote like casting time. It just takes a while. So you can see I killed him in 1 hit with a focus attack. So go ahead and take you on. Sometimes they miss though. Like you have to be like pretty spot on with it, which is really annoying. Because even if you're just like a little bit off, it won't land, which can be really irritating. And there's a Mughal Pocket. Now these are both blizzard spells. I can pick one up. I don't plan on using it though. I'm going to be using fire for the final boss battle. So, alright. If we come up here, we can collect our last piece of treasure for the area. This is another design, so basically we'll have like a design for each piece of armor and weapons that we need, so we should be able to get souped right up for the next time we go on. This will bring us to the boss. If we go to the left, if we go to the right, we can go to a Mughal house. Now this is interesting because we saw like a Mughal home earlier on, but this is just a Mughal house. I mean, these Mughals just live here. They live here for like no particular reason. Sorry, we can't offer you anything. We just moved here, so we really have nothing to offer. So I don't even know why they live here. This is a really dangerous place, but I guess it's got like a nice river view or something. I guess, I don't know. Anywho, as much as I don't want to cut. I think I'm gonna cut here before we go to the final boss battle, just because it can take a little while. So thanks so very much for watching, and in the next video we will finish up the River Belle Path.